Hello and welcome to PMP Prep Exam in a nutshell. I am Muhammad Radi, Director of Project Metric Solutions. In the our methodology is dealing with the processing group. We started with the initiating process group, and we are going to keep going till we finish the closing process group. The last session we have dealt with the initiating process, planning, executing, but this session we are going to talk about the monitoring and controlling process group. These monitoring and controlling process group cover all the area except the human resources. So it covers anything related to generating numbers like the scope, schedule, cost, risk, and covering the quality communication procurement stakeholder. It doesn't cover the human resource management plan according to the PMI. Before we keep going, PMI came up with the tasks. So the task is different than the processes. Task is basically something you do to accomplish and develop all the 11 processes in monitoring and controlling processing group. They came up with 2 tasks added to the 5 tasks, so the total number is 7. So what is the task is about? Is about change management plan to ensure project goals remain aligned with the business need, corrective action, preventive action, the quality, dealing with the quality, dealing with the documentation of issue logs and solving the problem with it, documenting lesson learned. So the processes in the processing group, monitoring and controlling the 11 processes is different than the task. So it is basically concerned with the actual results versus the planned results. So you have something really executing process group, you see if it is something deviating from what you have planned. Now, the monitoring and controlling group, it's the two first things in the monitoring and controlling processes. It is monitoring and control project work and they perform integrated change control. So what's basically is about, it is again comparing the actual results versus planned one. So it came up with a change request to correct anything, the difference between the variance, the difference between the actual results and versus results. So this is the change request. It should be submitted through integrated change control process. And it's whether it is dealing with preventive action or corrective action, and this you take it as input to put it to the direct and the managed project execution. So if you have any questions, someone submit to you change request and asking you that this not gonna affect the project schedule. So the first thing to do is evaluate the impact on the other project constraint. Having said that, then we go to the next step, perform the integrated change control. It's about reviewing all the change requests and approving the changes and documented everything in the organization process assets, in the project document and the project management plan. Now, the when you see the monitoring the inputs and the outputs, again, you focus on the two things here: approve the change request and the change log. The this expression called the change control board. This is the board you after evaluating the change request, you give it to the change control board, and the change control board whether to approve or reject the requested changes, and then either way you have to document the approval or rejection in a change log. So the change log, basically the change request usually comes time about the schedule, the cost, the risk, and the scope. So approve the change request. Change request log reflects status of all the changes approved or rejected, and they become part of the project documents update. Let's talk about the scope. The scope has 2 processes. It is validate scope, control scope. You go to page 133 and 138, chapter 5, and to see the scope management there, where the processing group, it is talking about concerning about the acceptance of the work versus quality control. It's concerned about the correctness of the work, quality control is typically completed before we validate the scope. What the input and output and tool and technique. Tool and technique here, you concerned about the inspection and again, the accepted deliverable and the change request. It is deja vu, the accepted deliverable and the change request. And let's look at the inspection, which is activities, measuring, examining, testing to determine if results conform to the requirement, sometimes referred to as walkthrough or product review. So the output here, accepted deliverable, change request. Let's go about talk about the control scope. It ensures three main factors: the factors that affect change to ensure they are beneficial, confirm a change has occurred, manage a change as they occur. If you can't control the changes, you're going to come up with something called scope creep. So scope creep is equal to uncontrolled changes. Let's look about to the inputs and the outputs. Here, I'd like you to, this is expressions, new expression called variance analysis. It's about isolating the cause of variances specific to the scope baseline and assessing for corrective action, preventive action to if it is required. Let's go to for the schedule, control the schedule. We are going to control the schedule if any deviation happened, especially to the schedule baseline, which might affect the cost baseline. Your job is to document the changes of project documents such as schedule data, project schedule, risk register. You are controlling changes, so and managing the changes. So the input here and tool and technique and the output, three things here: work performance, info, schedule forecast, and change request. The tool and technique for controlling the schedule, if this deviates on the plan, something called the crashing, something called the fast tracking, and you have to look at these two expressions in the PMBOK guide. In the output, we're gonna come with the um, about bunch of equations. So it is we are going to look at it. It's called earned value management. It's covering the schedule variance, whether it is you are ahead of the schedule, behind the schedule, earned value, planned value, and all this will be covered in the cost. So the cost, you are going to control the cost. So you are going to control monitoring any changes to the cost baseline. Basically, you are detecting the variances from the planned one. The inputs here, the tool and technique here, this earned value management. It is some of the equation. You have to memorize it. And the output, work performance measurement, and the budget forecast. So the equation here, planned value, earned value, actual cost, all these called earned value management. So you go to page 224 in the electronic version or PMBOK guide, and you have to memorize all the equation over there. Let's go to talk about the controlling the risk is monitoring risk responses plan, tracking identified risk, monitoring residual risk, identifying new risk, and evaluating risk process effectiveness throughout the project. And this is the output. You have to document everything in your work performance information and the change request. The change request as we go for the cycle, whether it is preventive action or corrective action, and it has to go through integrated change control process. Once it is done, you have to go back and put it as input to direct and manage a project execution. The quality, you're going to control the quality. It is dealing with the prevention, inspection, variable sampling, tolerance, control limits. It is to see the effectiveness throughout the project in terms of the quality. So the output here is something called quality control measurement, validated changes, verified deliverable. So the human resources, as we agreed, it's not covered in the process, so we want to skip it. So we're going to talk about the controlling communication to communicate your findings to and the progress of your project and the finding of your project among the stakeholders and team members. So the purpose is collecting and distributing performance results, status report, progress, measurement, and forecast to the stakeholders. There's no expressions here new, but everything here you are familiar with, whether it is work performance information or a change request. Let's go for the procurement. We are going to control procurement. You have to see the relationship of your contract, the performance of your contract performance, the activity of your contract performance, and making changes and corrections as needed. So again, you are going to get the work performance information, change request, and the other things here to update. The last step, the stakeholders. So we have to control the stakeholder engagement. So the purpose here, engaging stakeholders and updating them with the efficiency and the effectiveness of your project, and to monitor also the engagement of your stakeholders. So the output here to document everything in work performance information and change request and updating your project management plan, your project documents, and organization process assets. So the next video, we are going to talk about the closing process group. If you like my video, please subscribe, share, and go to my projectmetricssolution.com and go to resources and download any links for free. Thank you.